Please, don't become the same old man. He is a shame to the business. This is what my manager Kyle said to me out of the 77 new hires. After realizing this, I made the decision to end the speech. All right, you go aside. I'll take care of the speech. I left the ceremony for induction. My phone rang before the alarm the following morning. Mr. Howard, the president, was phoning. I called him back, and he requested me to come to the office immediately. I went to the president's office to find out what was going on and saw Mr. Howard, Timothy, the executive vice president, and Kyle. Kyle was shivering visibly as he stared at a newspaper. I apologize for troubling you so early, Scene. Did you catch any news yesterday night or this morning on the internet or in the newspapers? Mr. Howard gave me the newspaper Kyle was reading from the area when I told him I hadn't. Immediately, my attention was drawn to a prominent picture and title. My name is Sean. I work with a novel kind of PR firm that leverages social media. At 41, I started working for this company. I've been able to complete the task I've always wanted to accomplish, and 6 months had gone by before I realized it. Kyle, my immediate supervisor, is always saying rude things like, "That won't resonate with anyone," and "Your methods are outdated." But I worked so hard and didn't have time to worry about that. I was assigned a big assignment for the following month, giving a brief speech at the orientation. It seems that Timothy and Mr. Howard encouraged me because I was an early adopter and did well. They wanted me to show that you can use your prior experiences and skills to take on new challenges at any age. The orientation day finally arrived. The dinner hall at the hotel hosted the function flawlessly. Beginning at 4:00 p.m., Mr. Howard, Timothy, and other executives attended the orientation in addition to the new hires. It felt a little strange to be a regular employee there. After the orientation, I was informed that I could go right away and head home without having to have dinner. It was impressive to see 77 new hires. The master of ceremonies was Kyle. It appears that he is Mr. Howard's relative. He's in his early 30s, but he brags about being a manager, and he often says unpleasant things to me. He said stuff such, "You probably look down on me because I'm younger," and mid-career hires don't get promoted very often. That is absurd. Age is irrelevant. It makes sense that skilled people advance to more senior roles, and it's reasonable that I, a mid-career hire, am at a lower position than him. Kyle gave me a satisfied smile as I stated that. Though years of experience have taught me that it's preferable to maintain a moderate distance from such supervisors, it's not that I don't get annoyed. It's critical to keep a non-confrontational distance. Kyle had a really polished MC. It was time for me to speak after the president gave his speech and the firm gave its answers. At that point, other workers whispered to Mr. Howard and Timothy in a senior employee's voice, and they departed. They seemed to be on very strict timetables. Best of luck. Be not overly anxious. They urged me to just talk about what you've learned, Sean, as they walked away. Although their encouraging remarks were quite inspiring, I could feel my heart rate increasing even higher. Nervousness was making my hands sweat. We'd like to hear from an elderly man in his mid-career who joined a little earlier than you all next. Murmurs zipped through the room. What was it he just said? Man of age? Did I hear that wrong? However, Kyle was staring at me with a smug smile that seemed to be saying, "I'm going to humiliate you in front of everyone." He clearly meant it for me based on the look on his face. "Hey, old man, you heard me. At least you ought to reply," he said in a contemptuous manner. "Yes, I apologize to all of you. This individual doesn't respect norms or ordinary decency." As if to make the audience laugh, Kyle shrugged. The new recruits murmured to each other, not sure whether to laugh or not. Naturally, there is nothing humorous about this. It makes sense that they would be perplexed as they are unaware of the dynamics between Kyle and me. There was nothing for me to do. I forced my growing rage to subside and got to my feet. "Pardon me, may I begin with this? How come Are you really planning to give your speech? I stood still, not understanding the tone in which he spoke. Then Kyle started insulting me quite boldly. This individual was really just a filler, even though he was hired apparently because of his experience. Mid-career candidates are rarely hired by our organization. Kyle asked Thomas and the other managers for their approval. That is untrue, no. Mr. Howard was hired because, according to what I've heard, he was an excellent worker. With Thomas's refutation, the other executives nodded in accord. They were all grateful for my job. They were good folks who kept me safe from Kyle's despotism in a subtle way. Oh yeah, exactly. All you see, anyway, is the surface. Resuming my previous statement, Kyle persisted unfazed. This man is older than 40. He could never possibly bring new ideas to the table like you young people do. Respectfully, I've tried my hardest throughout the last 6 months. Results and effort are not the same thing. I've got the chance to work on significant projects. Oh, you mean the one I gave you very kindly out of sympathy. I wanted to disagree wholeheartedly. The reason I was given that project so quickly was because Kyle's proposal was rejected. He was upset that I had to alter the core idea and accused me of damaging his name. I can still clearly recall that. It was barely a month ago when that happened. Although Kyle had always been vindictive, his statements had become more frequent in the past month. That whole thing must have given him even more motivation to torture me. However, it was unacceptable to use the crucial orientation to accomplish this when Mr. Howard and Timothy were not there. Up until now, I had ignored his remarks, but now that I was being embarrassed in front of so many people, my blood began to boil. Perhaps I mistook him for someone too young and inexperienced. By assuming that I might be at fault for letting his attack slide, I should have reported his behavior to other employees or bosses earlier on. Now, there's no one to stop Kyle's rampage. I thought about just walking out, but then I glanced toward the back of the room and saw panicked employees. They were desperately signaling to me, trying to convey something. The employees were vigorously shaking their heads and making an X with their arms in front of their bodies. What are they doing? At that moment, I remembered an important fact. This is really bad. If this continues, it will definitely turn out poorly. I realized I had to stop Kyle's verbal abuse somehow. I approached Kyle and tried to turn off the microphone. What are you doing? Don't touch it. I understand you have things you want to say, but this isn't the right time. Please, I'm asking you. Maybe my calmness irritated him. Kyle got even more heated. Shut up. Why are you the one giving the speech instead of me, you loser? Calm down, Kyle. Shut up. Don't you dare boss me around, you lowly employee. Kyle continued to hurl insults like idiot and fool at me as I desperately tried to stop him. It doesn't matter how much you try to communicate if the other person isn't willing to listen. Why should I be the one to stop him despite being insulted like this? These thoughts crossed my mind when everyone. Please don't end up like this old man. He's a disgrace to the company. The eyes of the 77 new hires bore into me. I couldn't take it anymore. I see. I won't stop you anymore. I withdraw from giving the speech. That's right. I'll handle the speech. You stay out of the way. I left the venue immediately. Of course, I didn't attend the dinner party after the orientation. The next morning, I woke up to see a missed call from Mr. Howard. It was just past 6:00 a.m., wondering what was going on. I called back. Sorry about what happened at the orientation. I heard my nephew cause trouble after I left. No, it's fine. Mr. Howard apologized sincerely. And about that, it has become a big issue. Can you come to the office as soon as possible? I'll credit you for the overtime. Please come to my office. Certainly. I'll be there by 7. I hurriedly got ready, walking at twice my usual pace. I'd arrived at the office, and in the president's office, Mr. Howard, Timothy, and a pale-faced Kyle were waiting. Kyle was trembling as he read the newspaper. Mr. Howard and Timothy were glaring at him sternly. Good morning. Sorry to bother you so early, Scene. Did you see any news online or in the papers last night or this morning? I shook my head. Immediately, I went home in a terrible mood and fell asleep without checking anything. But what does that have to do with anything? I glanced at Kyle, who looked pale, and a thought came to mind. Is it possible that the orientation was covered in the news? Kyle suddenly looked up at me, his face a mix of anger and panic. Mr. Howard handed me the local newspaper. A large headline caught my eyes. Middle-aged man harassed and withdraws speech at orientation. Former employee names culprit. This is serious. The article featured a photo of Kyle insulting me, detailing his actions at the orientation. Although his eyes were blacked out, it was obvious that it was Kyle. I read through the article. Harassment incident at a company's orientation. In an era where corporate compliance is crucial, a shocking event has come to light. The stage was set at the orientation of an emerging advertising agency. The victim was a man in his 40s, identified as Mr. S. During the orientation, when he attempted to give a speech, he was publicly insulted by manager K, who was in his 30s and had to leave the scene. A former employee testified that manager K had been harassing Mr. S for some time. This issue has also spread across the internet and social media. The company is currently conducting an internal investigation, and if manager K's actions are confirmed, they plan to take strict measures. There's no doubt about it. It's about what happened yesterday. How did this happen, and how did the newspaper get this story? Kyle, I told you yesterday to stop your comments. He nodded weakly. The orientation was live-streamed on our company's official video sharing platform. What? Being a social media-focused advertising agency, our company had recently gained a lot of attention. We decided to live-stream the orientation to showcase our company to a wider audience. Kyle had attended the meeting where this was decided, but he seemed to have no memory of it. As usual, he might have been dozing off. According to Mr. Howard and Timothy, viewers who watched the live stream started posting on social media about the crazy incident happening right now, drawing even more attention to the orientation. As a result, many people saw Kyle's insulting remarks and my withdrawal from the speech in real time. It caused a massive uproar on social media. I opened our company's official video sharing platform on my phone. The orientation video had garnered a lot of comments. Isn't it over for a company with a manager like this? Poor Steen. The company should take responsibility. This is the age of social media. Anything that happens gets captured and shared immediately. Why didn't you stop me? I tried to cut the microphone, but you kept going. Kyle responded, No way. The employees at the back were shaking their heads the whole time. You finally noticed. Yes, and no one informed you afterward. Kyle fell silent. That was the answer. He had no allies in the company where he threw his weight around. He probably finished the orientation without knowing anything, and now he was here. The self-inflicted misfortunes that befell Kyle did not end there. Kyle, is this true? The social media posts detailed Kyle's numerous misdeeds, falsifying expenses, pressuring subordinates to resign, and claiming good ideas as his own. Kyle's eyes widened in shock. Scene, is this your revenge? No, it's not me. This is true. Why would I waste my time posting about Kyle's wrongdoings on social media? Reading business books would be far more productive. This is all because you got hired as a mid-career recruit. Our company doesn't usually hire mid-career people. You're just a useless, arrogant old man. That's something I can't ignore. What? Uncle, why are you? Stop calling me uncle. At the company, I was the one who interviewed and decided to hire him. Why is this old guy from a different industry considered useless, yet everyone listens to him? It makes me sick. As Kyle pointed a finger at me, I began to understand. So, That's how he felt about me. Kyle, I may have come from a different industry, but I consider myself quite knowledgeable about advertising strategies using social media. What? What are you talking about? An old man like you can't handle social media. His words were harsh, but I knew that once he saw what I had to show, his opinion might change. I opened my phone and showed him a certain social media account. That account, it's always going viral. Yes, it's the one I manage. What? Even while working in a completely different field, I couldn't give up one dream. I wanted to create advertisements with entertainment value that could reach people around the world. It all started with a small event in middle school. I entered a poster contest hosted by an advertising agency and won the grand prize. Seeing my poster displayed prominently at the train station, people passing by would look at it. Some even talked about the product advertised on the poster, saying it looked interesting. That was the beginning of my dream. But dreams don't come true easily. There are many people with skills and passion like mine. I couldn't get a job in my desired field right out of college. Even so, I couldn't abandon my old dream and kept trying different things on social media, sharing information, and helping to promote products while waiting for a chance. That work caught the eye of Mr. Howard, leading to my mid-career hiring. Why didn't you mention that earlier? I wanted to demonstrate my abilities regardless of my background. Damn it. If I'd known, I would have taken all your projects for myself, but I trashed most of them. I frowned. Most of my proposals never got approved, so that was all you're doing. I turned a blind eye because you're my nephew, but I didn't expect you to be this rotten. There are also social media posts claiming most of Kyle's work was done by his subordinates. Should we conduct an internal investigation, Mr. Howard? Of course. Verify the truth. Scene. I'm really sorry. Not at all. I felt overwhelmed as Mr. Howard bowed to me. I only took you in because your parents begged me, but this is unacceptable. You're fired, Kyle. What? Wait, Uncle. Why? Harassment and embezzlement. There's no way I can overlook such behavior. Kyle collapsed to the floor, stunned. The results of the internal investigation came out. Kyle had harassed many other employees besides me. It was also revealed that he had been embezzling company funds. Needless to say, he was fired. Now, Kyle is infamous and can't walk outside without being chased and labeled as the insulting manager by many people, with his real name and face exposed on social media. Kyle's reputation in the industry plummeted to rock bottom. I heard through the grapevine that his parents covered the money he embezzled. They also abandoned him, saying, "We can't take care of you anymore." Because of his actions, he can't find a new job. Given his excessive harassment and embezzlement, it's only natural. No company would want to hire him when a simple search of his name on social media reveals all his misdeeds. He is now reportedly financially and mentally exhausted. I've heard that he's become extremely paranoid about being watched and has withdrawn from society. He's also financially distressed and in debt. On the other hand, I was appointed as Kyle's successor. Thanks to social media, my past achievement of winning the grand prize in the advertising agency's poster contest became widely known. I received many words of encouragement. The company has also started hiring mid-career employees. A fresh breeze of change is definitely in the air. The new hires who attended the orientation show no signs of mocking me like Kyle did, and they are eager to learn. I genuinely believe they are all very straightforward and highly receptive. I plan to pass on everything I've experienced to the next generation. I want to continue spreading the message that age doesn't matter and you can achieve your dreams if you don't give up.